On last week's Cow-Calf Corner, we were visiting with Dr. Rick Rasby of the University of Nebraska, a beef cattle specialist, and we talked a little bit about the cow industry in his state. Today, we'd like to go a little bit further into that discussion and talk about some of the things that are happening in terms of supplementation programs for cows in Nebraska. In particular, we know, of course, that the grains, many of them are being used for biofuels, and then there's byproducts coming out of those biofuel plants that are available for cattle feed. So Rick, can you help us understand how are Nebraska cow-calf producers using some of the byproduct feeds?
You know, Glenn, really, as you think about the Nebraska system, we kind of centered it around forages that would include corn stalks. But, you know, to fill the gaps of nutrient deficiencies, distillers grains has been an important supplementation strategy for our cow-calf producers. And so I would say, yeah, you know, it's changed the complexion of how we use some supplements in Nebraska.
Now, you said distillers grains. In our way of thinking, we think of the dried product, the dried distillers grains. Is that what you're using, or are some of the wet product as well?
We're using both in the cow-calf industry. The thing that's really interesting about distillers grains is that once you take the starch out, because that's what you're going to make ethanol with, is that you actually have all the nutrients. The kernel's about 2/3 starch, so all the nutrients in there are going to increase by threefold. So corn goes in at 10%, it comes out as a byproduct at 30%. And phosphorus the same kind of way. And so it's really, and the other thing that I'd say is that it's an excellent energy source. All of our data would suggest that even in high forage diets, it's at least 125% the energy value of corn and no negative interaction with forages. And so it is really, you think about supplementation strategies, protein, energy, and no negative interaction, it fits pretty well.
Well, how do they use the wet product?
Yeah, you know, the challenge for some producers is that they just can't handle the wet. So dry or a cube or a pellet works in the range country. The other thing is that you can actually buy distillers grains fairly cheap in the summertime, sometimes as maybe 60 to 65% the value of corn. And the reason is that you think about its biggest use in Nebraska is the feedlot industry, and so during the summer they're trying to clean out, right? And so you still can produce the ethanol, so you have byproduct. And so we've worked with storage methods, so cow-calf producers can actually mix it and bunker it in a bunker silo, or mix it and put it into a bag, and therefore they can use it in the fall and winter when they need it. That kind of product would be more like a modified about 50-50 kind of a product, and so they'd need some kind of a feeder wagon to get that kind of thing done.
And you say 50-50, what's the other half?
Well, the other half could be anything. It works best with low-quality forage. I mean, things like wheat straw, like corn stalks, those are the kinds of things. And really, you take a look at it. All you want to do is put enough in there that it allows it to either pack like silage or get pushed into an ag bag and get the air out. So it's low-quality forage, not high-quality forage.
How many ethanol plants are in Nebraska?
I think the last count was somewhere in the 20s. Yeah.
Are they scattered across the state?
If you take a look at it, most of them actually reside mostly in eastern Nebraska. That's where the corn is. The other thing is that when you take a look at their distribution, a lot of them are around feedlots, okay? And so when you're thinking about the feedlot, you're thinking about feeding the wet product, and so you don't want to have to haul water very far. We do have one out in the Panhandle, but that has really been kind of a challenge for those folks in the Panhandle, because they're actually short on corn anyway, and now they have a competing factor there. But they use the byproduct as well out there.
Do you have a feel for about how far ranchers can haul the wet product and still have an economical feed source?
Well, we have a nice little program in there, and you know, from a feedlot standpoint, you can haul it a lot further than you think. It may be pushing over 100 miles that you could haul it still economically, especially if you can buy it at a discount compared to corn. Because remember, the byproduct is actually higher in energy than corn. And even in corn diets, it's even higher energy than in forage diets. And so you can haul that product a little ways and it still works.
Well, certainly it looks to me like the byproduct feed industry has had a tremendous impact on the beef cattle industry. Certainly in Nebraska, we feel it here in Oklahoma as well, as it affects feed prices. And I think it's a good idea for us to learn about what's going on in some of the beef cattle industry in other states, such as Nebraska. And so we thank Dr. Rasby for spending time with us this past 2 weeks. And we look forward to visiting with you again next week on Sunup's Cow-Calf Corner.